Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about why I'm not buying the new 23mm 1.4 lens, despite the fact that that focal length and that lens is my most favorite lens for the Fujifilm system. You might have noticed that I took a long break from making YouTube videos last summer. One of the reasons why is because on this channel I've always been saying that you don't need much gear to produce good quality images. It's all about knowing the gear you have and using it correctly. And I've also said many times in the past that it's the constraints that you put on yourself that actually unleash your creativity. If you have access to every kind of possible lens and camera system possible, you'll find that you'll actually be less likely to create amazing content. I've been saying this on my channel for a long time, and then all of a sudden I found myself in this trap of like putting random lenses in my shopping carts and then taking them out. The next thing you know, in a month's time, I've purchased 3 lenses. That really got me down. In that short amount of time, I purchased the 85 1.4 Canon. I purchased the 15 to 35 f2.8 RF Canon. You know, I used it to make a couple of videos and a couple of photos, but in reality, that stuff just weighed my camera bag down. And I started feeling like kind of a hypocrite. Like I cannot be espousing this stuff, this minimalism attitude, and at the same time falling trap to the things that I am telling people not to do. So when the Fujifilm 23mm 1.4 Mark II got announced, I was super excited because that is the lens that I gravitate to shoot anything that's not like an everyday kind of stuff. But despite the fact that it's new and shiny, this time I resisted, and let me tell you why. The old one was kind of clunky, you know, it was like oddly shaped compared to these new ones, and it was very slow focusing, and the biggest thing is that it didn't have weather sealing. I was really looking forward to that weather sealing because I shoot outside a lot, and a lot of times you just don't know what the weather's going to really bring. Now, the old 35 was my favorite lens of all time. It was the perfect sweet spot between versatility, between bokeh, between cost. Like, it just had all of those things into one kind of package. The new one, I feel like, deviates from what made the formula of the old one so successful. The old 35mm, it had this kind of charm about it. The photos that it took were very crisp, they popped. I love the fact that you can choose between the manual and the autofocus by just pulling down on the lens itself. No buttons required. I love the physical aperturing, and it just looked like it had character. The new one for me kind of fails in that design. The design language of the new one is very much 2021. Everything looks the same. It just looks like a generic barrel. You know, it doesn't have any kind of charm, any character. It just looks so generic and boring. The optics might be amazingly better, but the other reasons why I don't want to switch to it is the size. What made the first one so awesome was the fact that it was tiny, you know? If you pair it with any body like an X Pro 2 or like an XT4, XT3, it's still a very like small size. It looks like a smaller kind of camera. Whereas the new ones, these look like DSLR lenses. Like right now we're in DSLR territory, you know. The new ones are just bigger in every possible way. It's longer, and it just doesn't feel like a mirrorless lens, you know. What really appeals to me about the Fuji system is the fact that they have this like retro style that's infused in their bodies. I cannot tell you how many times I take this camera out to shoot an event and I get questions about how cool this camera looks, and it's such a conversation starter a lot of times. The Fujifilm 23mm 1.4 and the new 35 1.4 lenses, they just look so generic. They look like a Canon kit lens, and I really am not enthusiastic about the way that they look. I know it's a very subjective thing, but the old ones just had so much more character. The other reasons why is that the new one is bigger too, you know. Again, what keeps me coming back to Fuji is the compromise between size and quality. You find that yes, it's a smaller cameras, but the quality they can produce is outstanding. These new lenses are also heavier than the old ones. So the new one is physically larger, it's heavier, it costs more, and doesn't look as nice. Now, the benefits of the new one are that it has weather sealing, and you know, it's sharper and it focuses faster.
Just straight away with the new 23mm is that the resolution, the image quality of the pictures that I'm creating with that lens are much improved, sharper, overall, you get very much an impression of greater quality in the pictures.
So I guess it really depends on what you're going to use it for. If you're like an events shooter or like a wedding documentary shooter and you need to have that quick autofocus speed, then sure, maybe this is for you. But if you're like me and you're just like a hobbyist who loves taking photos, you know, the old one was plenty fast enough to take pictures of kids, to take pictures of running pets and all this kind of stuff. I really didn't feel like the old one was super lacking in autofocus unless I'm using it for video. Those cameras aren't video cameras anyway. You know, like the Fuji cameras are not built for video. They're built for a photo first and then they shoot video. But they're not video cameras. Like you'd never buy a 23 1.4 lens to shoot video with. Like that's just not. There are other options that are way better for that. Overall, I feel like the old one is just such a more better bargain for your money. It looks cooler, it's smaller, it's lighter, has character, has charm, and it's just an awesome lens. Like the quality of the images you're gonna get with that lens are not less than the quality you get with the new one. And it's less expensive. You can get a used one for like $400 now or $450 off eBay or something like that. Anyway, if you are considering buying the new lens, please reconsider because, you know, as I said in the beginning of the video, having the best gear, having the newest gear does not necessarily mean you're gonna have the better images. You know, if you have the old one, you know, you might want to just stick with it and not upgrade unless you need the weather sealing or the super fast autofocus. But again, like the number of people who actually need that stuff, very small compared to the people who just need a solid 23 1.4 lens. Honestly, I hate the fact that I get sucked into this like race of wanting to upgrade my camera gear all the time because it's so expensive and it yields very nominal results at the end of the day. I've experienced this time and time and time again, yet I keep falling into the same kind of traps that I fell in 4 years ago. You know, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, where I obsess over the gear. Sorry if the setup has kind of changed. I am experimenting with this setup because this one takes me 5 minutes to set up versus the other way takes about 15 minutes. And in my head, that 15 minutes to set up is such a blockade for creating videos. So I figured if this can work, then I'm just gonna keep doing this from now on because that way I can make more content and have less friction in the way of making videos. And one thing that I've learned is if you want to do something, you have to decrease the friction to doing that thing. The more friction you have, the more stuff you have to do to get ready to do your thing, the less chance you're actually going to actually do it. So thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.